Chapter 1. Hollywood Studio Backlot, August 16, 1987. Rising thousands of feet into the air, pillars of heavy smoke could be seen from miles away. It covered the streets filled with fire trucks and police cars. 23 structures lay in ruin. Chicago Alley and hometown USA streetscapes were a total loss. The dry rot and plastic sets had burned quickly, the wooden facades igniting like matchboxes. Light from the blaze flickered across the faces of the gathering crowds of overnight studio employees. They watched as the firefighters extinguished the flames on the Hollywood studio backlot. Wind howling, Burt Cummings sped to the scene in a studio golf cart, praying his instincts weren't true. He dusted embers from the fire off his Little Guy Mike black satin jacket that had crew in the front in gold thread. If his gut was right about who started the fire, the studio was going to bury Burt alive in this jacket. His bosses, the moneymakers, would make sure of it. When I get my hands on that kid. Burt's golf cart stopped short of the makeshift barricade. Stepping out, the stocky crew member searched for the producer among the firefighters. Shielding his face from the toxic smoke, Burt ducked under the yellow-black barrier tape. His eyes glared upward at what remained. The rising metal scaffolding was exposed through smoldering chunks of torched foam rubber. It was all that separated the front of the Little Guy Mike facade from the back, the outside from the inside. As the smoke cleared, Burt stared into the hollow structure, horrified by the melting tower of Little Guy Mike merchandise glowing in the distance. Toys, games, and dolls oozing together to form one being. It looked like something out of a Stephen King novel, its red glow pulsating like a heart struggling to stay alive. "We found a huge pile of this stuff," a firefighter shouted to the producer as Burt approached. He held a charred lunchbox. Burt caught the producer's eye. The day had come. "It started around back," the firefighter shouted as he returned to the blaze. "This was no accident." "You pushed him too hard," the producer said to Burt. "You gave him no other option." "You're blaming me?" "You said he was under control." The producer tried to contain his rage. "You assured the studio he wasn't a problem." "I did my job. I did what I needed to do." "We paid you to handle him," the producer said, "not incite him to this." He swept his hand out to encompass the path of destruction. All Burt saw was everything they had worked for reduced to ashes. Red embers rained from the sky, but they could have been green from the money that was lost. And not just the physical set. The whole enterprise was destroyed. "I'm gonna kill him!" Burt was an intimidating figure, which from the studio's perspective was both a benefit and a curse on set. He was all neck and forearms, having spent equal time at the gym and craft services table. Burt may not have been a real threat to the rest of the world, but to a teenager, there was more than a serious power imbalance. "When I get my hands on him, calm down," the producer said, attempting to keep Burt in line. "Your short fuse causes more problems than it solves." "He burned down the lot," Burt said under his breath. He knew that the show and his job were over. Once the public found out who started this, they'd never be able to separate Little Guy Mike from the crazed teenager who struck the match. Now Burt was going to be the scapegoat. And worse yet, they'd screw him out of his promised back-end deal. The real money they always held out like a carrot on a stick. "I can fix this," Burt said. "I'm going to find him, and he'll answer to me." "No, you're not. You're finished. Don't blame me." The fire chief ordered them to move back. Stepping away, the producer focused his mind on damage control. "We can still save the syndication." The money was in repeats, mining the show's history. Internationally, they were already being dubbed in Japanese, French, and Italian. The lawyers were now in final negotiations, drawing up contracts. The producer would have to think quickly to save this ship from sinking. Let him run. What? Look what he did. Clay Grant was never here. Don't you remember? He was with you celebrating his birthday. That is exactly what you're going to say if you want to get paid. Turning to an enraged Bert, he was adamant. No one can find out who started this. No one. Don't let him get away with this, Bert fumed. Don't worry, the producer insisted, raising the burnt lunchbox. He'll pay.